Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Odewale, welcome to Leadership Podcast Studio.
Thank you very much.
It's our pleasure to have you this morning. And of course, as usual, we're going to start with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, The Leadership. Uncertainty over fate of Petroleum Industry Bill, Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Uncertainty over the fate of Petroleum Industry Bill and Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Odewale, you have been in the National Assembly for some years now. Why do we have uncertainty over these legislations, few weeks after their passage into law?
The uncertainty over PIB, Petroleum Industry Bill,
yes,
has to do with the host community trust fund,
okay,
which was very controversial at the time of passage. If you recall, the conference committee of both chambers
yes,
recommended 5%, and the Senate reduced it to 3%. At the end of the day, the House of Representatives also passed 3%. Thereafter, some senators from Niger Delta
yes,
have been kicking against it. In fact, even calling on the president not to assent to the bill, which, as reported by leadership now, is even yet to be transmitted
to the president, yes,
for assent.
And they claim they are cleaning it up.
And well, the bill has to be cleaned up, and before the clerk of the National Assembly, we send it to the president. As for the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, I don't think there is uncertainty on that one. Nothing can be done on it until the National Assembly resumes from the long recess, because it is only both the Senate and the House, the passing body, there is disagreement on clause 52.3 as regards modality for transmission of election results. Why the Senate tinkered with the recommendation of the committee, which recommended that where and when practicable, INEC can transmit results electronically. The Senate added that INEC, in doing that, supposed to liaise with NCC to know whether the national coverage is adequate and secured. But the House of Representatives carried it as recommended by the committee, meaning that both chambers will have to raise an administration committee to arrive at the same position, because you can't send a different fashion of a bill to the president for us. So that one, we wait till when they resume in September.
That's a long time, Odewale. Then again, if you say there's no uncertainty about the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, I can tell you for sure that there are also groups and some Nigerians who are also calling on the president not to assent to the bill, because the National Assembly went against the wishes of majority of Nigerians by not approving electronic voting and electronic transmission of election results.
Thank you. I think by now, the Senate in particular,
yes,
must have learned its lesson from the backlash it's receiving on that amendment made on that clause 52.3. So when they set up, it is my hope that when they set up the Administration Committee, the Senate will have no any other option than to adopt the one the House passed, and that will settle the controversy.
Okay, if you look at the last rider on the story, because we've discussed the first two riders about inability of National Assembly to transmit the bills to the president for assent. Now the last one, the joint leaders, asked former President Goodluck Jonathan to, talk to President Muhammadu Buhari about this 3% stake earmarked for host community. How possible is this? Is it possible for a former president of Ijoya extraction to talk to President Buhari to make National Assembly see reason to jack up the provision?
Well, it's possible, but even despite the possibility, there's no any other way of getting that bill sent to the president and signed down, passing through the National Assembly. As Senator Siraki Dixon said, when he addressed the press, he pleaded that the president should not accept, since as a lawmaker, he had already known that the bill had undergone the required legislative
Stages, yes.
stages.
Yes.
So what remains for it to be transmitted to the president for assent? And this is not saying the president should not sign it, but return it for inclusiveness, more consultation. That was what Siraki Dixon said. So if your leaders are asking Jonathan to intervene, what a former president will do is also to tell the president to return the bill by way of making explanation that since there has been agitation that the 3% is too small. But even the executive came with 2.5%.
Yes.
And the 3% was passed. And we wait and see what will happen. The controversy there is just 3%.
But I believe the initial 5% recommendation was the function of consultation at the public hearing level. And I believe people who came for public hearing are stakeholders.
Even at the public hearing level, it was 10%. When you talk about the host community, the stakeholder from the host community, they said they won't accept anything less than
10%.
10%. And then
so the committee in its wisdom brought it to 5.
Committee in its wisdom brought it to 5.
So
due to consultation among the federal lawmakers.
Exactly.
At both chambers.
Okay.
But that day that the Senate considered that, gave that the final consideration, the brief they got from the GM of NNPC, according to the Senate spokesman, changed their mindset, and that 5% will be too high, because according to them, the 3% in monetary terms will fetch the host community $500 million
in a year.
That if it is more than that, it may scare investors away, that they are going to lose a lot of money. But the other senator from the area is saying no, that it will not scare investors away. Because if host community are not happy, and they want to kidnap investors, they make the
environment will not be conducive for business.
Will not be conducive.
So lastly, Odewale, how do we strike a balance? Now, given the position of the NNPC that anything beyond 3% is on the high side, and again, given the position of Senator Seriake Distin representing Bayelsa, who said if the host communities are not happy, there won't be conducive environment for investment in the oil and gas sector. So how do we strike a balance in the interest of the nation, not Ijo or South, in the interest of the nation?
In the interest of the nation, to strike a balance is for both government and the host community to shift the ground.
Exactly.
That is how to strike a balance. You have to shift the ground. They may not get the 5%, it may be 4% or even 3.5%. But what I want everybody to know, whether host community or Nigerians or government, is that for the first time, the PIB is about to
see the light of the day,
to be off that things.
Exactly.
So we should not allow this 3% something to kill the whole thing.
Thank you, Odewale. So we should not throw away the baby and the bath water. Thank you very much. We move to the next paper, the sister publication of Leadership, the National Economy. Story: 190 million Nigerians not captured in National Health Insurance Scheme. 190 million Nigerians not captured in the National Health Insurance Scheme. Odewale, this story to me is disturbing because it shows that we are far away from achieving universal health coverage. What is your take?
Yes, the story is scary, but it's not surprising.
Okay.
Because in Nigeria, we don't have the template outside the government machinery of capturing anybody for anything. NHIS only capture people who are government workers.
Exactly.
So how will you capture the ordinary man on the street? So universal health coverage. I think the Senate Committee on Health had a public hearing the other time where suggestions were made on how to go about capturing more and more those who are outside the government. It will take time for government to do that. The mechanism, the templates are not there for government to know who are who to be captured. So I think the best way of doing this thing is to make all the hospitals, whether tertiary or secondary or primary healthcare center, to make them more functional. If they are more functional, healthcare delivery, I think will be more felt by Nigerians. Since because I don't know how government want to do it. If you are talking of palliatives that government have been given to people, no any verifiable statistics on how the palliatives have been distributed to people, to Nigerians. The templates are not there, and that's the problem that is affecting this national healthcare.
So we don't have adequate data or accurate data of Nigerians.
We don't have it.
The database is not there.
The database is not there.
And the National Health Insurance Scheme, although it's for the whole of Nigerians, but then it's the target is always, on public workers. So what happened to the rural farmer?
Even some state government workers are not even captured.
Even private organizations.
We are talking of private state employees of state government
are not on the.
Are not even captured. Let's talk of private organizations.
I think there is a need for a concerted effort, because with this we are far away. We are very, very far away. It's a far cry from achieving the universal health coverage. We are healthy.
How many Nigerians? More than half of the population of Nigerians are healthy through God's divine
intervention. And you know that this is one of the reasons that a lot of people don't believe in the existence of COVID-19. They don't believe.
You are bringing a very controversial issue, because me personally,
you also don't believe.
I don't believe. Up to now, I've not been convinced
that there is COVID-19.
That there is COVID-19 in Nigeria. I'm not saying COVID-19 did not exist elsewhere, but as far as Nigeria is concerned, I'm yet to be convinced.
But what else evidence do you need? We have seen casualty figures. We have seen names of prominent Nigerians who have died from COVID-19. Ordinary Nigerians who have died from COVID-19.
I'm happy you say you have seen names of prominent Nigerians in casualty figures. Can you mention one out of those casualty figures who didn't have any underlying ailment?
Of course, it has always been the truth that it's been exacerbated by underlying factors like any other health condition.
That means COVID-19 is not here. That means it is people who are diabetic or have a lung problem or heart problem or what have you.
They are dying.
That if they contract COVID-19, it will knock them off. The way I see it, honestly speaking, is that COVID-19, somebody may travel to Italy or elsewhere and bring it here. The moment that virus enters this country, it will get out of the body of whoever it enters. As long as that person is not having any underlying ailment, that is my own belief.
Because of our weather?
Because of our weather, and maybe because of our body chemistry and what have you. And don't forget that the COVID-19 rely heavily on malaria to knock off somebody. And we are malaria is us.
In Africa?
Yes, in Nigeria in particular. You are not
All right, let's move away from national economy. Now we'll go to our third paper for the day, the blueprint. Odewale, that is your paper, the blueprint.
Yes.
Okay, let's see what we have as a lead story on the blueprint. Hush puppy, FBI indictment. Anxiety as Police Service Commission suspend Kyari. DIG heads probe panel. Anxiety as Police Service Commission suspend Abba Kyari. DIG heads probe panel. Odewale, the Nigerian police has constituted a 4-man panel headed by a Deputy Inspector General of Police to probe allegations against the head of Nigeria's intelligence response team, Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari, who has been indicted by America's Federal Bureau of Investigation over his link to also a Nigerian Instagram celebrity, Rahman Abbas, otherwise known as Hush Puppy. You are aware of this story?
I'm aware of the story.
Yes.
And I'm even happy with the written by reported by Blueprint and other papers.
Yes,
yes.
We have it as a lead story. You also have it on the front page of the leadership for today, because it's a developing story.
It's good that the police, before Nigerians start telling them that what are you doing,
Exactly.
The police set up a committee and even recommended for suspension of Abba Kyari. I'm
Exactly.
very happy with that. But the only disturbing aspect of this is the Nigerian factor that is setting in.
The localization
of the Nigerian factor, Arewa, youth, and Miyetiala.
That's been the problem with Nigeria.
Abbas Rahman is the one indicting
Abba Kyari.
Abba Kyari, not US.
Exactly.
You should know that Rahman is in their custody.
Exactly.
And they're already interrogating him. And he's the one who told them that, oh, there's somebody there, he gave so and so to. It's time for that person to come out now and say, you're a liar. You didn't give me anything, or I didn't collect anything
From you.
So instead of bringing in sentiment into it.
In fact, the sentiments are dramatic. Look at your first rider. Miyati Allah tackles northern elders over silence. So what would the northern elders do? They will put up a defense for Abba Kyari.
Northern elders, they are Miyati Allah too. They are patriotic Nigerians. They are responsible Nigerians. But I know that northern elders, and they know that this is not an issue for them to jump at. So whatever Miyati Allah says, northern elders will keep quiet. They want to know the scenario, the unfolding scenario, how it will end.
But the next rider is more bizarre. The same Miyati Allah is accusing the FBI of conniving with southern leaders to bring down Abba Kyari.
The same peculiar Nigerian factor. Now, if somebody is caught for something in the southern part of the country, people from that area will come
also
and say,
point at fingers, the other side.
I did not. That has been our pattern. Even internally, forget about US. Internally, yeah. If anybody is arrested by the federal government, regional coloration or religious coloration will be brought into to muddle the water and divert attention of investigation and prosecution.
These are disturbing, tendencies. The last one, nothing should happen to Kyari. Arewa Youth won.
That is it. That is okay.
Now, let's get to the meat of the matter. Now, all this back and forth, do they invalidate the allegations against Abba Kyari?
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, by the time the police carries out its own thorough investigation, and Abba Kyari, if he's found wanting, I think we have to be handed over to FBI. He himself had said that he didn't collect any money from from Rahman Abbas, but Abbas gave him a 300,000 worth. I wonder
to buy clothes for him.
I wonder how a DCP,
a busy one, a super cop for that matter,
collect such a thing from a fellow Nigerian. It's unethical. If one it's like a judge collecting fabric or anything from anybody.
A suspect.
So what will the judge? How will the judge rule if the same person now appear before him or her? So when one is in a sensitive public position, one need to be very, very careful. Abba Kyari is more than 300,000. So what is the fabric that he bought that he collected it? And look at the problem he's bringing to himself now.
Now, you talked about, if the local investigation here point to the fact that he's culpable, that it should be handed over to the Federal Bureau of Investigation in US. But a lot of Nigerians are saying, no, that cannot happen. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. We cannot hand over our citizen to a foreign country. But then, if he's guilty, we have our own way of dealing with the situation here.
Yes, that's
a risk dismissal, demotion as well.
Yes. Well, Nigeria is a sovereign nation, no doubt about that. It's not by force. If he's found guilty, there are other means of punishing him. As you said, he may be demoted or even dismissed from service and even prosecuted, and perhaps even sent to jail without even handing over to FBI. But the only the other angle of it is that if that is taken, then America will know that Nigeria is now condoning
its own corruption, which is not good for our image.
But if that is not done, and you didn't hand him over, then you'll be sending wrong message to the outside world.
And that reminds me, Odewale, this is not the first time Abba Kyari is being accused of corruption. This one is gathering momentum just because a foreign security outlet has made the same allegation. Are we supposed to conduct our affairs like this?
Well, I've not been following about Kyari. It's only this issue that brought him to my own attention.
During the NSAS panel in Lagos, a businessman petitioned the panel in Lagos that Abba Kyari extorted him of 45 million naira. The matter was swept under the carpet. It was in the social media and the conventional media. Maybe because of his rank or position. He's described as Nigeria's most decorated police officer. Very influential for that matter.
Well, if actually he defrauded somebody of 45 billion naira, and this time around, somebody is accusing him of another thing from US, let me see, he's catching up with him, and he should be ready to face the music.
But we hope or we pray he's not guilty as charged. But then this should be
he said
an eye opener for us.
He said
the detractors are behind the whole thing.
He said he'll be disappointed at the end of the day.
We hope so. We hope so. But for me, this should be an eye opener. We should also look internally and on how our security agents are conducting their affairs. Do we have them in our ranks collecting money to do hatchet job? Because in the case of Hush Puppy, the allegation is that Kyari was consulted to arrest somebody in Nigeria on behalf of Hush Puppy in Dubai for punishment and for a token. And we saw the transcripts of their conversation, how a Zenith Bank account number was forwarded for a reward. So beyond Abba Kyari, are we supposed to look inward and see whether such things are happening?
We're supposed to look inward and in fact sanitize the entire system. Don't forget the army captain who killed those three
in Taraba.
We are not hearing anything again.
In
fact, the other time I watched on television, during the court proceeding, the judge was still telling the army to bring the captain or to hand over the captain to the police. In a country governed by law, supposedly governed by law.
Incidentally, the victims were actually Abba Kyari's men. People trained by Nigeria with a hard-earned money. They were the one killed in Taraba by soldiers who were working for a kidnapper.
And the captain has not been
produced.
Look
at the cover up because of the level or the position of the military man.
So the system is very, very, very corrupt. The system needs to be sanitized, and that's the reason why both the military, the police, and other paramilitary agencies are finding it difficult to rise up to the challenge of insecurity problem we have at hand. Because there are a lot of corrupt people here and there. If you are dining with criminals, how will you now be able to arrest them and prosecute them? So that is the problem. Need to be sanitized. And I'm disappointed that, sorry to say, that it is under somebody of experience of President Muhammadu Buhari that we are having this type of experience. He once governed the country as a military head of state. He was 42 years with that time. I know very well. I was not expecting this type of thing to be happening.
Under his watch.
Honestly speaking.
Odewale, thank you very much. Let's move away from that to our last paper for the day. And the story is politics. The Daily Sun. The Daily Sun has 2023 presidency. Atiku begins consultations. 2023 presidency. Atiku begins consultation. Atiku is former Vice President Abubakar Atiku. Now, Odewale, 2023 is just less than 2 years away. 2 years. Less than 2 years away. So what is your take that Atiku is beginning to make consultation with stakeholders?
Well, it was in Rivers State. Was it last week?
Last week.
It was in Rivers State, and as reported, is going about. Don't know whether he wants to contest or he's trying to present somebody. What I know is that if Atiku is recontesting, I'm not a member of PDP, but I think there are strategies in the party. They need to be very, very careful. The incumbent president, President Muhammadu Buhari, is from the northern part of the country. Will be ending his 8 years in that 2023. And then his party, if his party should zone the presidency to the south, and an Atiku is coming. So basically, PDP is telling people from that side of the country that they don't be there for them. So whatever article, whatever consultation or permutation is doing now will depend on where APC picks its own presidential candidate from.
Well, Odewale, you are forgetting the fact that rotational presidency is not enshrined in our constitution. So it's not, nobody is bound by law to zone presidency to any region. Then lastly, politics, they say, is a game of number, intrigues and strategies. For example, as you said, if APC is zoning to the south, of course, for PDP, they will believe a northern president, a northern candidate will be a sure bet for them or a joker for them to actually seize power for them in 2023.
If APC is only to the south,
yes,
and Atiku comes up or any other northern comes up from
probably they believe that should be the way to balance the equation.
Well, we wait and see, but rotational presidency is not written in our constitution.
Yes,
but it is what I will call is rotational presidency or rotation zoning is part and parcel of the entity called Nigeria. Don't forget the country is a highly diversified entity. So when somebody from one part occupies a central office, automatically the other side,
in the spirit of national integration,
and unity. In 1999, you remember now,
Obasanjo.
I think 1983. Let me count for you. 1983, it was a Buhari head of state. After Buhari, Babangida. After Babangida, Babangida put Shoneka there. Shoneka was recognized by everybody.
For a few months.
Yeah, Abacha came. Yes. After Abacha said dead, Salami. So the North, they said, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when Salami came up with transition program, they said, no.
Let's power shift
to the south. And in particular, Southwest, because of this June 12 agitation at that time, that nobody, even the late Abubakar Rimi, who contested, knew that he only just contested. Even people from Kano, they didn't even vote for him. So it's not the thing in the constitution, but we Nigerians, whether from the north or from the south, we know that sense of belonging must reflect in whatever we do. So that is just it.
Okay, the writer says David Mark Group moves to check Rivers governor's influence. I don't know what the report is talking about. What kind of influence Wike wielding?
David Mark, because what position did David Mark take in the presidential primary at the Port Harcourt in 2018? So when you say David Mark
Group trying to check Wike's influence,
David Mark is a respected Nigerian, but I don't think David Mark is controlling any powerful bloc within the party. To be checkmating Wike. If blocks are to checkmate Wike, such a block is supposed to come from fellow governors or even those who are in the National Assembly. Maybe the remark is edition group.
And what kind of influence will Wike be wielding that you need a David Mark to check your influence? Maybe readers will need to go and get the paper to get the details. So before we go, there is a story that is catching my attention. Very, very important story. It's on the front page of Leadership and virtually all the newspapers this morning. And that story is about medical doctors proceeding on industrial action strike this morning. In fact, as we speak now, they have commenced the strike since 8 o'clock this morning. Now, why the story is of interest to me is that this is happening incidentally at the same time President Muhammadu Buhari is on medical trip in the United Kingdom. What do you think about our health sector? Does the government according it a deserved premium, attention, or not?
I would say our sector is bedeviled with a lot of challenges. This incessant strike by medical doctors has to do with a rivalry between them and other health workers, whether pharmacists, nurses, maybe they call it Kwash or something like that, forgotten Juesu. Anytime the medical doctor come out and say, no, they want this allowance, they want that, and government acceded to them. The other group will say, no, we are doing the same job, increase our own percentage as well. So I think government is supposed to call all the stakeholders in that sector, put them together, and then have frank discussion with them that they should first and foremost know that what they are doing, the sector they belong to, they are meant to save life. It's not a sector, it's not a Ministry of Agric or what have you that say you are embarking on a strike and nothing. Only God knows what people will die.
Exactly.
Today now. Those who are an emergency wards, or even those who will have emergency cases today that we have to be brought to the hospital, and there will be no doctors to attend to them.
Personally, for me, I believe 3 sectors in Nigeria.
Look, you mentioned that the president is
yes, incidental.
Yes, it's not good that our president here is not medical keep. But me, I'm a realist. I don't. Buhari is not the first president. All of us know that we don't have efficient and effective healthcare system here.
So, what about leadership by example?
Leadership by example by death. When you know that you don't have work attend to your health needs, you know, you say leadership by example. Now go 2% to slaughter slab. No.
I think the president also.
I'm not a
they offer reason for that.
I'm not a but if I were in the shoe and I know that the health system is not good and I have the means,
use yourself for experiment. They said the president has been used to his doctor for more than 20 years, and that's why he has to go there to continue with them. Odewale, thank you for being with us this morning. Listener and viewer, this is where we're wrapping up the Inside Nigeria show for this morning. Make it with us tomorrow for another edition of Inside Nigeria. I remain your regular host, Body Badebo. Bye for now.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.